Welcome to the next episode of the Iowa Girls Wrestling Stories podcast. Now partnered with Chain Wrestling today, I have four-time state place winner from Osage and now sophomore at Simpson College, Jalynn Goodale. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I haven't seen you for a while. Last time I saw you was at you were kind of doing some recruiting at Twin River Duels with
Yep.
Jeff, and
Yeah.
how was let's just start there. You're at a meet with 83 girls teams compared to when you first started wrestling. What's that like to walk in as a just seeing all those girls?
I honestly, it's gotten to the point where now it feels so normal, but I can recall when I can only imagine like what my thought, if I had known when the day I started what it would look like now, I can only imagine how in awe I would be. At this point, like I love to see it because
Yep.
it means we're growing. It means we're making the right steps in the right direction. And I mean, how can that's just, it's awesome. How can you not be like happy about it? And
Yeah,
yeah.
one of the things when I saw you, and we already talked about this a little bit tonight, but I saw the cauliflower ears quite good. I mean, mine's I'm getting old, so mine have calmed down a lot. But you know, how did that come about? And aren't you supposed to be wearing your headgear, young lady?
I am notorious for I'll wear it when I have to. If it's required, then I will follow the rules. However, the times where it's not required, like Spokane when I was out there for World Team Trials, I was not wearing my headgear. And so that's when it started. And then it blew up, like the summer, like my ear, I can remember my ear was so fat and swollen and I drained it I think two or three times myself. I had the doctor drain it once, and then I was talking to my club coach. I was talking to Cruz, and I was like, he's like, you just need to leave it alone. I mean, you just gotta quit messing with it. I'm pretty sure he threw in a swear word there, but he's like, it's just gonna keep getting worse the more you mess with it. So then I ended up the moment I stopped like messing with it and I just started taping. I literally would at night I would tape it to the side of my head and like that I look kind of looked like Vincent Van Gogh where he's got like his ear. Yeah,
Yep.
that's how I felt like that. But now it's finally kind of starting to calm down. However, I'm there's been some days where my other ears will get sore and I'm like, hmm,
Well,
am I gonna am I gonna end up looking like all my cousins? Am I gonna end up with
well,
two cauliflower ears?
that's a good
But
possibility. Yeah,
yeah,
I had mine drained a lot too, and I think you're right. When you leave it alone, it starts to get better. I think when we mess with
yeah,
it too much.
the more I wore like as long as I wore my headgear consistently and I left it alone, it seemed like that's what made it happy.
Yeah.
And it
And I
like
don't know. A lot of people think it's that badge of honor and everything, but my God, it hurts.
oh, honest like it hurts so bad, but it's like after a while, like once it like solidifies and stuff, I
Mhm.
forget that it's there until people are like, "Oh, you have cauliflower ear," and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, I
you're right."
oh, that's funny. Um, you know, why don't we just get started? You're at Simpson College right now. You're in your sophomore season.
Yes.
How's the season been going for you?
It's been going really well. College is definitely the grind is a lot more persistent and constant than it was in high school, and navigating that has been a little bit difficult for me, I'd say. In the sense of like realizing you're never going to be 100% healthy and you kind of have to stop having that expectation of like, oh, I'm not going to hurt today because you are. And that's
Hmm.
something that's been kind of tough for me to get over is like realizing that like I can still wrestle even with like the pain and you know no matter how consistent and constant it is, like if you can wrestle through it in the room, you're going to be able to wrestle through it during a match. And that's kind of one of those things that I'm working towards this year is getting to that, and also just like like tying my mental to my wrestling. Like if I'm not doing what I need to, not only physically, but also for my mental well being, my wrestling typically, you can tell because my wrestling doesn't do as well. I don't do as well.
Hmm.
So I guess that's been a kind of a lot more things I've had to kind of learn self awareness and figuring out. But I have really great teammates and coaches. So like sometimes when I'm in my denial phase of like, I just want to pretend that it's fine, my coaches or my teammates will be like, all right, what's going on? What do you need to talk about? Like, and which is really helpful. So the support system has definitely made that.
That's really awesome. Yeah, it is a big adjustment from high school to college wrestling,
Yes.
and I don't think sometimes I don't think we prepare people. We talk to girls a lot about going to college because there's all kinds of opportunities right now, but
Yeah.
maybe we don't really prepare them for the difference. The physicality of matches is so much difference. That's, they'd rather hurt you than beat you sometimes, I believe.
Yeah.
That's, you
I
know,
mean, luckily, I haven't had, I think we navigate, like, I can't really recall a lot of times that I've had that. It's more of just, I think one, like community, that sense of family, like, you do really have to, your family looks different now this year. Or like, the
yeah.
moment you step foot on like a collegiate level, like, your family looks different. Your mom and dad, your grandma and grandpa, whoever, like they're probably not right next door anymore. They're probably
Hmm.
not, downstairs making you food. They're probably 2+ hours away. And realizing that like my coaches and my teammates are now my family has been one of the biggest helpers to make those adjustments. And, you know, they are my support system when my mom and dad and my family can't be. So that's definitely been huge for making those, like, adjusting to that change and just kind of knowing that the resources are there. I just have to use them.
Nice. And so since last year, what are some of the differences? Have you seen your team grow, the conference grow, this, all around you? What are you seeing at Simpson and then in conference and just other places?
I will definitely say my it's it's hard because like our team did grow, but then I feel that with the growth also comes that, girls aren't always ready to take the next level and move up. Like they, especially when you're at a D3 college or just anywhere really, like you have to realize that you're here for a reason and you
Yep.
chose to be here, and there needs to be that love. And nothing's gonna Coach McGinnis and I actually just had this conversation like, or a conversation along the lines of like, sometimes I tend to be really hard on myself and compare myself to some of my teammates who are a little bit more kind of figured out their mental game a little bit better, and I'll beat myself up over that. And it's not about getting to a point where things are easier. It's about being able to handle hard better, which was he sent me the video of the um Duke women's basketball coach. She had a really good conversation and just talked to her athletes about, it's not about, getting better so everything's easier. It's about being able to handle hard better because it
I
doesn't
like
get
that.
easier.
Yeah, I
And
really
so
like that. Yeah.
yeah, and that's something that kind of like helped me open my eyes to the fact that I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to be the best. I mean, I'm gonna want to be. I'm always gonna strive for that. But like, in order to be the best that I can't expect things to get easier. I have to be able to handle the hard better. And so, I think that's where there's a lot of disconnect for some girls, and the reason they don't necessarily stay on the team or they don't do as well as they could have is because they're not at a point where they're ready to handle hard better and they're not ready to kind of, I mean, for lack of better terms, take on that responsibility, that
Uh-huh.
commitment.
Yeah. I actually watched something today. I watch a lot of motivational stuff too. Um, it's a female coach, and I can't think of her name right off the top of my head. I don't believe she's a wrestling coach, but she was talking about how girls, women in sports, there's a level of perfectionism that's just whether it's nature or nurture. Girls want to be perfect at
Yeah.
everything they do, and if they don't get it right the first time, they're upset about it. Um, that's something that I've noticed over the last few years, and we've tried to really work on that in our room. But obviously, we're not perfect, and that's what practice is for, and we'll never be perfect. Is that something maybe that you struggled with too, and are now that seeing it? Is that
Yes. And it, for me, it comes back to kind of that self-awareness of I, if I get frustrated, it goes one of two ways. I'm a very stubborn person. So it's either I will never try that again, or I will die on that. I'll live by the sword, die by the sword. I will keep trying and trying and trying until I like can't anymore. And
uh-huh.
so something I'm working on is kind of opening my brain, making those adjustments like, okay, so for instance, I like my high crotch, and this is also another thing I actually just talked to Cruz about. It's not about having a number one shot and a number two shot. It's about having a right leg shot and a left leg shot. If I can't get to my high crotch, then I'm going to shoot my outside single,
Hmm.
and it's finding, it's not, and Coach Emma told me this. I'm just pulling quotes from all
Oh no,
over.
you're fine. You're fine.
It's not about getting to the legs, it's about scoring.
Hmm.
It's the goal isn't to get to the legs, it's to score. So whether that's a shot, a snap down and go behind, or it's about finding those opportunities and using them to your
Yeah,
advantage.
you do know what the number one takedown in all levels of wrestling is, correct? It's a go behind.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
was gonna, yeah, I was
That's
like,
it.
no, and that's definitely something Coach McGinnis has really, that's something we kind of focus on is like, if you get in that front head position, like we should always be scoring. Obviously with a grain of salt because there's exceptions for everything, and
Yep.
sometimes, despite the best effort, it doesn't always work out that way. But
Yeah, because they're also working on how to get out of a front headlock, and that's
yeah,
that's just
exactly,
part of the sport. So that's fun.
exactly.
I'm gonna pick your brain too because I'm going into state week. Have you guys been has the team been working on shots without hitting a knee a lot or not? Are you guys still? I mean, it's something I've been working on. I've been watching a lot of like Emma Bruntel and things like that, and it seems like they get to a shot without hitting a knee, maybe from an underhook, 2-on-1.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna pick my roommate's brain. Keely,
Okay.
we haven't really, have we? No, no. Yeah. It's we talk a lot about wind conditions, or I guess it's something new that we've been talking about. Wind conditions being, what what do I need to do to perform my best to find, like, obviously at the end of the day, winning isn't like, yeah, we wrestle to win. However, at the end of the day, we don't step on the mat, or we shouldn't step on the mat and expect ourselves to win. We should expect to wrestle our best. And however that looks, that's going to look different from Keeley to me to our
Yep.
roommate Adele to any other of our teammates. And I think we all get so focused on what's working for everyone else versus what works for us. And it's hard because, when you're coaching and you're showing a room full of girls like a move, it might work phenomenally for one girl and
Yep.
just like absolutely dumpster fire for another girl. And
Yeah,
it's just
you are correct.
it's navigating those waters and some for some girls, not hitting a knee is probably going to be super beneficial. Whereas for other girls, I can only imagine how I would handle that because I am very much programmed and I
Uh-huh.
have to, it feels like I'm constantly trying to reprogram my brain to be able to handle change better because that's another thing I struggle with is I like to kind of it's chaotic, like I'd say I'm chaotically organized for lack of better terms. I like to have a plan, but I also do okay with spontaneous. But when it comes to certain things, I'm like, but I do it this way. And so I just think it kind of each wrestler might handles things a little bit differently, and that goes the same with obviously people.
Yeah.
But I'd say something that we really focus on in our room um, on the mat would be front head position. Making sure we score, get our go behinds, and figuring out like what our number one and number two are, which is typically our right leg and left leg attack.
Yep. Yeah, that's really good. I did hear you say something about every time we step on the mat, it's about doing our best or having our best performance and not the wins and loss. And I'll tell you, that's when in college, that's when I started having more success, is when I stopped worrying about winning a match and
Mhm.
start worrying about how I was just wrestling as hard as I could for as long as I could and stuff. So
And
yeah, you got some good coaches telling you some good things.
yeah, that definitely that's one thing that that myself and my teammates I feel are very fortunate for is, we have three coaches who all have three different experiences and we can pull from each and every one of them and like Coach Emma obviously has different experiences than Coach McGinnis, and then
Yep.
Coach JP also has different experiences than those two. And kind of being able to pull from all three has been super beneficial to me. And I would like to think and I believe that my teammates feel the same way. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So I know like Simpson and Wartburg, I think probably are the two first, yeah, I mean, ones that started wrestling in the conference first. Probably a
yes.
little bit ahead. Are some of the other teams starting to catch up? Maybe not on the map, but maybe numbers wise, things like that. I know I'm up here in Northwest Iowa. I help out with BV a little bit. Not as much as I had last year, but I know they got a few more people on the team. They've had a little more success this year.
Yeah.
How are people doing around the conference? Because, it's important to grow the whole thing.
I would definitely say that it's growing. I would say that from last year to this year, there's definitely not necessarily always like it's not always growth in numbers, but also growth in skill. And
Hmm.
um, I think a lot of the coaches, at least I know, I mean, Buena Vista's team grew. I know, um, obviously
Central's
our
in there.
Central,
Yep.
yeah, Central, I don't recall them having a women's team last year, and I know they do this year. At least we weren't able to, I mean, I don't recall wrestling them
They,
last
s-
year, but
yeah, they started last year, and I don't think they had large numbers. And
yeah. And
so,
so, like, I mean, they were at our conference duel, or not duel, we did a conference tournament this year.
mhm.
Hopefully, next year or the year after, we'll move to duels because it just kind of helps things go a little bit more smoother, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love duels. I'd
I
rather do duels all day long, man. I love them.
I just I personally feel that I prefer duels for conference things or things where we're really trying to kind of grow spectators in a way.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yep.
I think for conference, since those are people that are near, we can draw in bigger numbers with duels versus a tournament just because it's a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
It's team versus team versus like trying to be like, oh, we have a athlete on that mat, we have that an athlete on that mat. Oh, we have to wait a half hour until our next athlete wrestles. Oh, we've got 10 minutes before like it's
Yeah.
just very hectic when it's individuals. And again, for like bigger tournaments, it that works a lot better. But I think for conference, it would be really nice to see some duels. But
Yeah, I'm guessing from being from Osage, that might have been part of the hook for you in wrestling is watching some of those incredible duels up in Northeast Iowa. I'm
oh
sure
yeah,
that's you grew up with it. So I mean, is
yeah.
that's got to be the excitement around it.
Well, and it is, and even just like I mean, when we've had duels this year, like I we get a lot of I mean, whether it's because I don't know, I just feel like Simpson has that same tight knit community feel that I got from Osage, which is
Hmm.
part of the reason I came here because I wanted a place that felt like home. I wanted to feel like I had family here, and I also do have family down the road. However, I've made my own little family here, which has been tremendously helpful. And I think one thing about duels though is the energy in the air is just it's it's wicked. It's amazing. Like, because sometimes you get to see kids who don't necessarily do very well. Like they'll, get a big win and like it's just the excitement in the air and everyone cheering and I think I also sometimes I don't gonna call myself out a little bit, but like sometimes when things get heated, like I think the intensity is just so unique. You don't find that very often in a lot of sports. And I think, I mean, for myself at least, I enjoy that part of wrestling. I enjoy the passionate, intense, just it makes it that much more of a unique experience. And that's not something you find everywhere.
Yeah, in duels, your team can get on a roll, and you're right. Some people that don't normally win a match get that energy from their team, and the next thing you know, they wrestle way above their level, and it's just exciting. I've also been on the other end of that, where we wrestle way below our level because
Yeah.
somebody got beat, and then we start feeling sorry for ourselves,
Yeah.
and yeah. Cedar Falls got on a roll with me this year, and I was like, "Oh God, this isn't going to be a good day." So yeah, I can go either way, but boy,
It
when you
can.
you yeah, and that's you're right. That's what makes it so much fun. I think that's why I love duels so much.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned something that I always like to talk about with, especially the girls that are in college, or I've talked to some that have left college already, some that you've wrestled with, and for the recruiting process, where did you all go, and then kind of how did you narrow it down to Simpson, and what made your choice?
So, Coach McGinnis loves to tell recruits about my recruiting experience because I have a unique path compared to a lot of girls. Um, I went on I, I went on three visits originally. I visited Augsburg, North Central, and Simpson. Those are my
Hmm.
And so I originally visited North Central and I really, really liked it. Their team seemed like they had a great bond. Um, it was a little far away from home, so I didn't like that's kind of was a drawback. There's a lot, they had a really large roster, and I knew that I wanted to not necessarily be on a large team because I still wanted that, like, I wanted to be able to have that like close personal relationship with my coach. I wanted to make sure that like I think it's I mean, personally I feel this is important, but I also think for everyone on the team it's really important to know that you're valued in some shape or form, whether it's your personality, your skills or all of the above, like everyone brings something unique to a team and I think when you get too many people on one team that might shadow some. And
Yep.
I mean, selfishly, I also wanted to know that where I went, I'd be able to crack the lineup at least at some point. Um, and but I also wanted somewhere that I knew that I was gonna have to. I didn't want somewhere I was just gonna be given that spot. I wanted somewhere where I'd have to compete for that spot. I don't ever want to feel satisfied with where I'm at, and that's something that I knew that I was gonna get from those three colleges. And then I was also looking at Augsburg, which is where I originally committed. Um, I committed to Augsburg back in November of my senior year. Um, and I was really happy with my choice at the time. And then it was my senior year was kind of closing out. My senior season of wrestling had already ended. I think it was probably April. I had kind of realized I was panicking and I was like, I don't think I want to go to Augsburg. I don't know where I want to go. I kind of had an idea that I wanted to go to Simpson, but I wasn't sure. So then I went through the whole process of having to decommit and all that. And then I texted Coach McGinnis and I was like, hey, I know I told you that I had already committed somewhere else, but I decommitted. Is there any chance I can come on another visit? Like, would you still have? And so I went on another visit. He told me that day that I wasn't allowed to commit right away. I had to wait. I had to take a few days, make sure. And that's always been his biggest thing is like, um, even you can't see her, she's off camera,
Yeah,
but even Keely, she was supposed to go visit Ellsworth, Loris. She was supposed to go
Doris.
visit Loris, and she ended up there was a snowstorm. She ended up not being able to go, and the only reason she was going to visit Loris was because Coach McGinnis told her that she had to before she committed. And so it was just kind of funny, but I did end up committing to Simpson. It was a little bit more informal just because I didn't commit until May. And
Yep.
so but that was kind of my path. It was definitely interesting, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I've made some of the best friends I could ask for here. And I have an amazing team, amazing coaches. Um, and I guess to go along with that, for anybody thinking about wrestling in college, don't be afraid to go to that college's website, find out if they have a women's program, and just like fill out the recruit me forms because that is college coaches normally can't contact you until your senior year. And if your information's not out there, it's really hard to get contacted. And so, the best
And
thing you can do is just put yourself out there and, be vulnerable in a way that might make you uncomfortable.
yeah,
And
it's really tough for them to run their season, especially, they're not, it's not like a D1 program where you have 7 or 8 assistants running the practices. They're doing everything, the recruiting, they're doing practices, they're doing fundraising, they have so much time. So they really need to know if you're interested or not. And
yeah,
so, yeah, you're right, filling out those things. I have said that to so many people. Just go to the website, fill out the recruit me page, and you will get contacted, especially right now. The sport's growing so fast in Iowa, 21, 22 places you can have an opportunity to go.
yeah,
You gotta find it and then find something with your major. I
hmm,
believe your good friend Addie, I think, went to a college and that didn't quite have her major. And
yep,
so that doesn't, those are things that you really got to think about. When you're getting recruited, every coach is putting on the sales show, right? And so it's important to go back. It's important to, talk to teammates, the people that are already there. I'm sure when new recruits come in, you get talked to all the time by them. What's the real story here? You
yeah,
know?
yeah. And I mean, I think one thing about, I guess when like in our room, if we host a recruit, obviously, you know, we want them to come here, but
Oh yeah,
we're not gonna put the dead bodies in the closet.
yeah,
We're gonna be as open and honest as we can, but like there's a reason that we're here and there's a reason that we have the success we do have. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I know that I'm supported not just as an athlete. It's me as a person, me as a student, and me as an athlete. It's in that order. Like we come as a person first, and then our academics, and then our rest. And coaches made like all of three of our coaches have made sure that we understand that and that like we know what our priorities are. I mean, yes, we'd all love to be athlete students, but we're not. We're student
yeah,
athletes. And at the end of the day,
yeah.
that's what's
Espe-
important. And
especially at the D3 level. You know, that's
Yeah.
it. And D3, I praise D3 and NAIA because you are the ones that are growing this sport. There's a lot of focus goes to the University of Iowa, and I won't say anything bad about that. But, it's the D3s and the NAIs. The small colleges have built women's wrestling, and that's the facts. And you guys have done a great job. I mean, I'm super proud of all the girls in Iowa that have gone on to wrestle. Simpson also has one hell of a wrestling room. What's that
Yeah.
has to be I mean, I know Osage has probably got a great wrestling room, but I'm guessing maybe not quite this level.
Definitely not as big. And I I mean, I love our room except when we have to do sprints.
I bet so. Is it
I
3 mats or 4 mats? How many mats you got down?
four wait, one, two, four. We got four
4.
mats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big room.
Yeah. Right? Eight? Oh, yeah, it's because we have four going down, but it's like one, two, one, two. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we've got like eight mats in there, and
That's nuts.
I mean,
I've ran some practices in the Grandview's men's room. I'm sure
I
you've been in there at some point in time.
think so.
It's an old bowling alley, and they put format. My God, I hate the acoustics. I'm not a yeller, and I got to yell constantly just to be heard in the room. Man, I hate that. Hate it. I like them small rooms. So,
Honestly, so one thing about our room is like I would say the acoustics are actually pretty decent because so above us we have a track.
uh-huh.
So like during practice, there'll be track practice, and so they'll come in and run their laps and whatever, which selfishly, as a wrestler, annoys me. But
Yeah.
also,
I suppose
it's
those.
not their fault, and that's
Yeah.
the only indoor track we have. And I mean, it's also kind of sometimes, when I'm need something else to focus on or my brain's going too many directions, it's kind of nice to see them running around because I'm like, oh yeah, like I could be running. I get to wrestle today.
Yes, that's a good.
I am fortunate to have this opportunity to be down
You're
here, not up there.
Yeah, you're
And
fortunate you're not just turning left,
yeah,
constantly turning left. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not
I'd
a
be
track person at all.
no, I'm not. I mean, I ran track my seventh and eighth grade and freshman year before I got cut, but I just it wasn't for me. It wasn't something I loved and enjoyed, but I mean, that's why I wrestle. I love it and
Yeah.
I enjoy
Yeah.
it.
I ran cross country because my high school coach was the wrestling coach also, and he said, "You're never going to play football. You weigh 120 pounds, dude." So, I ran cross country. That was probably his recruiting speech to get me to do it. But yeah, I'm not a runner. You've seen my build. It's short, fat man. So, um, let's go back to the very beginning, back in Osage. How did you get started wrestling? I'm gonna guess that maybe one of those three T guys, Trent, Theron, or Thatcher,
Thatcher.
probably had something to do with it.
So I'd wanted to wrestle since I was about 5 years old. Um, Obviously, big wrestling family, big wrestling community, all that. My mom was like, "No, you're not wrestling. You're, and like for the times, like it was kind of how it was. Like she's like, "You're my daughter. You're not wrestling a bunch of boys.
Hmm.
Like, you think you want to wrestle, but you're not actually gonna want to. Blah 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 blah. You know." And so then, fast forward, I'm in seventh grade. She finally can't tell me no. I'm stubborn, stubborn as all get up. I get it from her and my dad both. So she lucked out there. And we had like the meeting where like all of us, if you want to sign up for wrestling, go to whoever's room at the time or like the middle school coaches, Matt Goss, Mr. Goss. And so I went there and like I kind of talked to some of my guy classmates and, I've always been a little bit more ready to roughhouse. I'm just kind of how I was raised. And, and so, I went, signed up, went home that day, and I had like all the guys in there, and like Mr. Goss, they were all super supportive, which was really great. And to preface, I will say my mom is my number one, like my biggest supporter. However, when I went home, it began a week-long battle of her telling me, "You're not going out," and me saying, "Yes, I am." And I remember I come home from school that day and I go and or she got home from work after I got home from school and I go, "Mom, I signed up for wrestling." And she looks at me and she goes, "You did what?" And I said, "I signed up for wrestling." And she's like, you're not gonna last a week." She was in denial. She was just scared, you know. She I'm her youngest, so it's like my baby girl's going out for wrestling. She's gonna wrestle boys, like ah. And so after about a week of arguing back and forth, she finally was like, whatever. Like, if you want to wrestle, you're gonna wrestle, and that's that. And so I ended up going out, and that year I think I won a total of 4 or 5 matches, and I want to say those include the ones I wrestled at AAU State. I
Uh-huh.
went like 4 or 5 and 28.
That's
So
better than my first year.
I mean, but I think for me, it was the first time that I really felt like I belonged, I
Hmm.
guess. I've never been good at volleyball. I um I was short. I
So you can't dunk, is what you're saying?
I cannot dunk.
Can
And
you hit a 3-pointer? I have a really good
how
granny.
many tries do I get?
I don't know. I have a really good granny shot from half court, and I bounce. I can bounce the ball from the free throw line. I'm pretty decent at pig. I play a lot of pig with the girls.
I mean, I'm all right at pig, but
Mm.
3 point, like once I get the middle, so
Yeah.
the free throw three
Yeah.
pointer, that's when I'm like I tap.
Yeah.
Unless you lower the hoop.
I
The,
think that should be part of the rules. How hard
okay.
is it to put a ball in a hoop if you're 7 foot freaking tall? I
That
mean, it's nothing. So I think they should either make a height limit of like, let's say 5'7", 5'8", or lower the hoop. And then, or maybe have two divisions, for
Yeah,
us vertically challenged people.
exactly.
I think that's the way to go. Maybe
Yep,
we'll start a movement.
maybe.
Maybe. So you did follow a few pretty decent wrestlers at Osage that were girls though, because I remember
Yes.
I was at the very first Ogden meet.
Mhm.
Chloe,
Yep.
um, Chloe was there. I got to know Emma pretty well through the years, and see who else is. And your name always comes up when I talk to those Osage girls, but Emma and Chloe probably were the two. Were those two
Yeah.
people you kind of looked up to when you were
Yeah.
coming up?
And like the Mostet girls, they wrestled. I'm not gonna. I always hate saying this because it makes me feel so bad. I was so ignorant when I was younger though. I think I don't even think I knew that there was girls out for wrestling.
Gotcha.
Um, I, however, I was. I think it's like I think if I would have known, I would have thought it was awesome, and I might have kind of known, but I think I also I wanted to find a way to kind of make my I wanted to find something that mattered to me
Hmm.
that was and that was something I'd always kind of struggled with because I'm a social butterfly. That's especially when I was younger. That's kind of so I would do what my friends did. And so wrestling really was a chance for me to kind of step out and do my own thing and figure out kind of who I was as an individual. Um I was actually just laughing with my friends the other day because um we're just like at the end of the day, a lot of girls that go out for wrestling, and I mean this in the most genuine, heartfelt like way, but we're a bunch of misfits. But
You are correct.
we all found our fit, like where we fit in, and that just happens to be in wrestling. And I mean, it takes a unique person to be able to do what we do. It mean it's not easy. It's not always fun. But I love it, and you know, I show up every day and do the thing.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head. We are a bunch of misfits. We don't fit in everywhere.
Yep.
Wrestling was something I found too that, I absolutely suck at every other sport I've ever played. So, and not saying I was a great wrestler, but I enjoyed it a lot. I have got, I believe Trent, Thatcher, and Theron, are they all is that cousins?
Yep. So my late grandpa and their dad are brothers. So
Okay,
my mom, so Trent's my godfather, but all so Trent, Theron, Talia, and Thatcher, they're all my first cousins once removed. So they're all my
gotcha.
mom's first cousins. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So, have you seen the video of Trent? I think it might have been Heeman's match. Have you seen him dancing on the side? I mean, he's celebrating somebody's win at regionals this weekend. If you haven't, you got to find it because he's got some
I
moves, man.
Oh, I believe it. I believe
He,
it.
it's pretty impressive. And Theron is actually sending me some of those gnomes he made. My wife loves gnomes, so I saw Theron had those gnomes and stuff. So I really gotten to know Theron pretty well over the last couple of years at AAU stuff, and Thatcher sat down and had a beverage with Thatcher last year at AAU State. So yeah, no, I really enjoy. I kind of like the whole Osage thing anyway. I showed you I had my Gable Heeman
Able
shirt on.
human. Yeah.
It's the only Osage stuff I have, so I had to put it on for you today
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. So I
Represent.
absolutely always I've always enjoyed Osage, and actually some of the things I do on my team copies not kind of copies the idea. Everybody knows when you walk in and you see the O, the green and white, that's you're in for a match, right?
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I've tried to do with the Ridgeview is just the R. Instead of being
Yeah.
so fancy, let's just cut it back in an R, and we might not quite be at the same level all the time, but you're going to get at least a match.
And
Um, I've seen
you
some
might have to
pictures.
see if
I I always stalk people, a little bit, and I know I've known you for a long time anyway. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with
I
doing a little stalking.
that's right. So I did see up at Immortals, you must help out with some of the littles every once in a while.
Um, so I kind of goes back to my high school. So the walks they became like a second family to me.
Hmm.
I mean, being at college, I haven't gotten to see them as much as I would like. And but yeah, I kind of more just I was I not gonna lie, I'm gonna get a little serious. I really was struggling my senior year. I was cutting a lot of weight that I shouldn't have been cutting. Um, and by that I more mean like I just didn't have that weight to cut.
Hmm.
I was trying to get down to 110. And looking back, I now know that I should have, you know, advocated for myself a little bit harder, but I was really able to lean on not only Katie Walk but also her husband Ben Walk and their their whole army. They have 5 kids.
Hmm.
Amelia Walk, she made it to state this year, which is super exciting, and I'm really excited for her. And then Jackson, he's the next oldest. And just all 5 of their kids have just become like siblings to me. They became like second parents, and uh, yeah. So that I do know what picture. I kind of remember what you're talking about, but yeah, so Katie and Ben, I would carpool with them to Immortal, and um, it was Lou's first, so Lou would be the fourth walk child. It was
Uh-huh.
her first like littles practice and or one of the first, and I went with, and so that was fun because she was just a little goober and didn't really wasn't sure she didn't really want to wrestle anybody there. So yeah, but
So are you thinking that when we're all what is your major? Did I ask you your major? I don't think I have.
I am a business management marketing communications major. Um, but I think I know where you're going with that question. And the answer is yes. I want to coach.
Gotcha.
I do have a lot of credits, or not a lot, but I have a majority of the credits I need to get my coaching degree, or
Hmm.
my coaching minor, I should say.
Yep.
Um, I honestly, I have what I need to get my coaching license. I just procrastinate really badly. So I haven't
Well,
gotten it, but I need to still.
yeah. Yes, we need you. That's something I advocate a lot for is the group that is in college right now, getting out of college and coming back and taking my spots. I've asked so many people, you really should move to Northwest Iowa, and it's a tough sell, but I think I'm going to work on it hard. Have you ever thought about officiating?
Actually, so Robbie McKeeman, Mc, McKeenan, I don't
I
know if
think.
he's from Olwine.
Okay.
Um, he's been officiating quite a lot of our tournaments this year, and he's been putting some bugs in my ear, being like, "Hey, what are you doing this summer? You should really think about officiating." He's like, "I'm gonna get you to officiate." So,
You should. You really should.
I think I'm gonna try it out because, you know, worst case scenario, I get yelled at by some parents, and I get
Yep.
to yell back.
That's right. Sit
But
down, coach.
shut up.
Yep. No, we did for our youth tournament. I started a girls club. Nadine refereed my whole weekend, and she did my varsity tournament Saturday, youth club or youth, and then on Monday did the JV, and we did officials clinic with that too. So like Tatum and Izzy both got and Dania all got their officials license. Couple girls from up in Spencer came down, and then that first girl I coached, Keegan, also got hers. So six new officials, and man, I think it's for college, man, you could make some extra money on the side.
Oh,
You might
heck
you
yeah.
might as well. Got to have that.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'm just gonna zip back through your career just a little bit. Just a little
Mhm.
bit. So I think the first night I met you was Night of Conflict, must have been between your freshman and sophomore year. Is that correct?
That is correct. I wrestled
Yes.
Addie Lundquist.
Yes, that's kind of the theme we got going here. Every year you wrestle Addie Lundquist, and Addie had the same theme when I talked, and I've known both you for quite a while. Um,
We couldn't escape each other, and
no.
it sucks because, you know, we bonded. I remember the first year we were on the podium together, and
Hmm.
we were just kind of shooting the crap and talking because I'm a talker and I was nervous. And you know, it just kind of we just kept seeing each other, and we just sadly, in my opinion, just because I would have
Yeah.
loved to not have to wrestle her and just be
Yep.
friends and not
Yes.
opponents as well. But it
That's
also,
kind of cool part about girls wrestling though. You know,
yeah,
you can be fierce opponents, but yet
exactly.
really good friends.
Just to build on that, it was such a unique experience because I mean, so more funny is back to being like the whole misfit thing is I used to ride horses when I was younger. And actually while I was talking to Addie, I found out not to put her on blast, but she also used to ride horses. And it those are I mean, I'm gonna call it a sport because I mean I did it very competitively and that's
Hmm.
um you know, I did barrels and pulls and all that. So but those are kind of those are some of the only sports that I've really found where you're gonna find that you can be friends and then go have to go out and one of you's gonna have to kick the other's butt. Like
Yep.
and it sucks. But then you know, we'd always come off the mat and you know, we're a little hurt, obviously, because losing isn't fun. But at
Nope.
the end of the day, like we'd always put up good matches for each other. I mean, she was some of my best matches, my most like competitive matches. So like seeing how that can work was really awesome and like I said it was just such a unique experience and
Yeah,
you know,
it's neat experiences. I've seen that happen so many times throughout my female coaching career. The last 10 years, it's been really, I absolutely love coaching girls. It's something I will never go back to coaching the boys ever. I don't even know the kids on our boys team. I have zero idea who they are. Don't
That's
care.
okay.
I just don't care. I actually had one of the radio stations local that covers us very well asked me last year if I would be willing to go to the boys tournament and, handle it for them because they had some people out, illness and stuff. And I said, I absolutely don't even care. I'm not going. And so I had a free trip to the state, hotel, the whole works, and I turned it down because I just didn't care. So,
And I mean, I I definitely like going back to kind of my journey as a wrestler. That's something that like the boys um will always probably have a special place in my heart just because I I was very fortunate in the way that I got to experience wrestling. They took me in as one of their own. Like, I mean, I I know that I feel that if a lot of other my classmates had tried to go out for wrestling, it probably wouldn't have gone over as well. But because I mean, I had quite a few, I had some cousins in my grade that were out for wrestling, and also just the fact that
the entire coaching staff was related to you.
and like just kind of, I'd say my personality, I've
Hmm.
just always been a little bit rougher than a lot of other girls. My I haven't I don't care. I didn't care a lot like the other girls. Like I really embodied the whole I'm going to school in sweatpants and a sweatshirt
Hmm.
and
Yep.
I'm gonna call it a day.
Yeah.
Like whereas a lot of my other classmates I know like they'd look a little bit cuter and there'd be days where I did dress up, but I was definitely more of a I'm going to school and it's gonna be in comfy clothes because
Yeah. And
that's
that's
what I'm
what's great about
comfortable in.
college is great that way too, because we get to go to class every day in comfy clothes.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I'm like,
Um,
yeah.
you have got to do a couple really cool things. First, night of conflict. That had to be early in your career. Had to be really cool to be
Oh,
spotlighted in the way that girls wrestling was spotlighted at night of conflict.
I remember I was so nervous. I mean, it was such an exciting night, but like I was so nervous just because, it like very few girls had gotten the chance to wrestle at Night of
Hmm.
Conflict. And then I was also really excited because it COVID was happening. So then it was like everything was like on the fence. Don't
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen. And so it was just kind of it was really awesome. It was a really great experience and you know, I still have the pictures from that night and it was definitely a wonderful experience and
Yeah.
it's something I'm grateful for. So
And you were on the floor when it was announced that girls had sanctioned or the girls union sanctioned. What was the
yeah,
emotion around that? Because I know my emotion around that was I was a big ballin' old baby, what I was, but what was that like?
I I'd already known.
Yeah, I mean everybody kind of knew.
I wasn't so I found out probably November, December-ish. I wasn't supposed to, obviously,
Yeah,
but being at the school I come from, like it was just kind of one of those things, and especially me, I'm a little bit nosy when it comes to like those kind of things, and then also, I definitely kind of had an advantage or a privilege of um kind of getting let in on those like little secrets from my coaches and stuff of like just kind of keeping me in the loop and letting me
yeah.
know or like I think I was talking to Thatcher and I was like, well, when do you think it's going to get sanctioned? And he's like, not for a couple of years. And then I asked like another one of my coaches and they're like, oh, blah 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 blah. And I said,
What?
huh? I was like, no way. So I think in the moment when I found out when it was gotten announced, I mean, I was I was so excited because like it was such a big moment. Like I towards the end of my career, I didn't think that I was gonna be in high school when it got sanctioned.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of funny because I'm I mean, almost in the same boat now in the NCAA where it's finally getting sanctioned. I mean, it
Yep.
won't be until next season, but it's got that same feeling where honestly, it's not overjoyment. It's more of a feeling of it's about damn time.
Yep.
Like, you know, and obviously they did have to wait like in high school and same with the NCAA, but it's I'm more I think more of my excitement goes to when the other schools are adding their programs and finally start it. I know
Yep.
that there's a lot that goes into it. You have to have the same number of women's and men's sports, so that plays a role. Like when women's wrestling got added here at Simpson, they added men's volleyball. So it's kind of finding those balances, but I while I wasn't overjoyed, I was kind of like I was chomping at the bit. I was like, what's the next step? What's gonna happen next? Like I I just I wanted people to stop questioning like the legitness of where this
Hmm.
sport's at. And even with it being sanctioned, I knew that it's never gonna be enough for people because somebody always has something to say. And it for me it's about proving them wrong, I guess. And whether it's going out like when I was wrestling guys, like whether it was going out there and whipping butt or I mean I didn't always, I didn't win a lot, but it when I was able to hold my own, like that for me, that was a win. That was an accomplishment because
Yep.
I knew that biology wasn't on my side. I'm a girl and I don't have the same hormones running through my blood like a man does. And
Yep.
so I guess for me, was more of I felt a little bit of peace when it was sanctioned, but I also felt what's next. I
Hmm.
was I wasn't satisfied.
So
So
when I was in college, and this is a lot of years ago, uh, Title IX was 10 plus years in, but that's when colleges started using Title IX to cut wrestling programs
mm,
and stuff. So actually, one of my gym teachers came and talked to my girls this year. She graduated college the year that Title IX became something, and so she didn't get a benefit from it, but her sister did, and we talked. I had her try to explain what it was like prior to Title IX and what it was like now with Title IX and stuff. And so now Title IX is finally the thing that is the driving force in this whole thing, and it actually lived up to what it was supposed to be. So it's kind of a cool thing. How the Osage program? Let's hit that one more time. The direction the Osage program is going. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, they've done amazing things the last couple of years.
um it's hard for me to I have a lot of mixed emotions. Not gonna lie. I'm really, really happy with how they're doing this year and how things have how the coaching has changed for them. I mean, it's sad to me. Like, I'm so grateful that um I had Katie Walk as an assistant coach.
Hmm.
But I my senior year kind of poisoned the well water for me a little bit. Um, I just had some not so great experiences with the women's head coach.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Jennings, he will always be one of my favorite people.
It's
He's just
good
a really
guy.
great
Good,
guy.
very good guy. Yeah.
Um, and again, he's always supported me a lot, and so I'll always be very thankful for that. And same with Katie Walk, she's always supported me, and her and Ben still reach out to me, and support me. Nick Heeman has been doing really great things with the program, and I
Yeah.
think that um, getting a different head coach was definitely huge for our team. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have no respect for Ryan Fank anymore. That was my head coach for all 4 years, and
Yep.
by the time my senior year came around and went, he kind of he had a lot of healing I had to do last year for just to put it lightly.
Yep.
It was it was hard, but seeing what can happen when you do have somebody that cares. Um, Katie Walk really helped me a lot my senior year.
Hmm.
She helped me my junior year too, but my senior year, she was there for me when I felt like I didn't have anybody else. Um, in the like wrestling on the women's side, at least I should say. It was just really hard to kind of navigate that water. I didn't feel like my head coach at the time believed in me. I There was a lot of doubt, and I don't know. It just wasn't a healthy environment for me. And but I got to Nick Heeman, Coach Heeman invited me
Yep.
this year to come in during Thanksgiving, and seeing the room and being in the room, it was such a different experience, and it was awesome, and it made me happy to see where the team
Good.
was at because I mean, after my senior year, I'm not gonna lie, I'd kind of promised myself that I wasn't gonna ever step foot in the Osage wrestling room again, at least not with the women.
Yeah.
And it was more of one of those things. It was to protect my peace. I mean, Keely watched me last year struggle a lot. There was a lot of times where I missed weight more often my senior year than I made weight. And so stepping in like last year I had a lot of um panic attacks before I'd step on the scale just because I was I was constantly panicking. I handled my weight so well last year. Like I was constantly always under, but I was like always scared that I was gonna miss weight. And so like going back to my coaches at Simpson, like they were a huge help with that last year, and so were
Yeah.
my friends and teammates. And
Yeah.
um,
No, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's
no, it's
something,
okay. I don't.
no, no, I know you're not a victim or anything, I mean,
No,
you had something that made you a tougher person,
yeah,
and
and
thank God you had Katie Walk, and I know Katie well, and she's a great
yeah,
person. So it's good you had somebody, that's something, I've tried over the 10 years of my coaching career with girls is to make sure they had a safe environment where they knew that they could trust somebody and that they knew that they could always speak their mind and their piece and
yeah.
just be supported. So that's, I hate it when I hear that maybe somebody didn't have that same experience and not that you're complaining
No,
about
and
it, but
it
it
was
has made you a better wrestler. It's made you a better
yeah.
person.
Well, and it I mean, I had what I thought was a good environment my like
Yeah.
freshman, sophomore, junior year. Um, and I don't know if it was just because I was graduating or what, but there was just a lot of things that don't get me wrong, I wasn't always in the right. I said a lot of
Yeah.
things I shouldn't have. Um, but there, it just you're a coach should never. There's just certain things coaches should never say to their athletes
Yep.
because what they say does leave a lasting effect, especially when you have a close relationship.
Yeah.
Um
No, for sure.
and
And
I just it kind of goes back to like the cutting weight. I was cutting too much weight. I tried to move up a weight class, and I was told that my I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna win if I went up a weight class. I wasn't gonna do well. I wasn't gonna be able to compete because I wasn't that size. Like I was gonna be too small for a 15 pounder, which I now know is BS,
Wrong.
but
Yeah. So what are you wrestling now in college?
I'm wrestling 117.
Okay.
And I mean, Coach and I, Coach McGinnis and I joke about it. He'll be like, "Are you sure you don't want to go down to 10?" And I'm like,
You're like, nope, I'm
he's
good.
like, "Nah, I'm just." He's like, "No, I'm just kidding. I know, I know." Or like, there'll be times where I'm like, "Hey, Coach, I think you know what? I think I should go down to 10. What do you think?" And he'll be like, "No, not happening." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whatever." But
Yeah.
I mean,
That idea of let's get to the lowest possible weight our body can handle is just it's not healthy for one, and we don't wrestle as good. You wrestle better when you feel good. That's just a fact. You know?
and I think I'm a full believer that like like for me, I do wrestle better if I'm cutting a little bit of weight because
Hmm.
I'm eating better. I eat better if I'm cutting weight. Whereas
Yeah.
some people do need to be full feed, but I mean, they eat better when they're full feed. And it kind of varies from person to person. But you do have to listen to your body and, you know, you, you live in your body, nobody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And
I think
so
people I think coaches are getting smarter with that though.
I
I
agree.
think I think the research, I mean, I grew up in you would someday I'll show you the picture of me the last time I made weight at 125 as
Probably
a
cutting
senior in high
30
school.
pounds.
And that was the yeah, 25 30 was just typical cut,
That
in
was
the
just
the
like
late
that,
80s.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
everybody, that's what everyone did.
I was happy to be 9 pounds over the night before because I knew I could make it then. You know, it was you're ringing, but it just in we weighed in the morning before so there it was different. There's absolutely no way you could cut that kind of weight and do an hour weigh in. That would just be horrible. I mean, I barely made it through school.
My
So
senior year, when I made weight, I mean I barely made weight, but I made weight for Battle Waterloo. I was 7 over
night before,
night before.
oof,
And then the
so
day,
that's a rough cut.
yeah. And then day two, I was 5 or 6 over and got it off.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure everything was legit, and I never put a plastic suit on my life, I think. But we won't talk about those
actually,
things.
I want to say I think that cut I didn't wear plastics, which
I mean
honestly,
we weren't
honestly, I
supposed to
wish
wear
I
them either.
had.
But boy, I lived in those things. In college, we couldn't afford to buy plastic, so we used garbage bags.
Oh yeah,
You know, all those fun things. Well, let's switch gears completely here. And let me ask you some fun questions and we'll see where these take us and we'll just have a little bit of fun. How's that sound?
sounds great.
Some will be easy, some will be quick, some might not be so quick. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. I figured with an Osage person I was gonna hear that damn green again. That
Did
damn
Gable
green
say
mafia.
green?
No,
Gable or
she didn't.
Ainsley?
No, no,
Okay,
they didn't.
I
But
haven't
Thatcher
heard,
would have.
but that no, yeah, Thatcher.
He's he's a little Osage crazy, man.
He, yeah, he's
We'll leave that at that.
yes.
So, if you're gonna get a pet, and you grew up on a farm, is that correct?
So
Kinda acreage.
my grandma and her ex-husband, they lived on a farm. That's where I
Okay.
got all my most of my like farm animal experience.
Okay.
My dad's so my grandparents on my dad's side, they live on a farm as well. They used to have dairy cattle, but they sold them before I was even a thought. Um,
Gotcha. So I will leave
so
this open. It doesn't have to be cat or dog. Let's leave it. That can't be some small, crappy little animal like a hamster, though. If you're gonna get a pet, what kind of pet you gonna get?
I have my dog here with me today.
Nice.
His name's Murphy. Here, I'm gonna grab him. I was
Yeah, you
actually
better grab
laughing at him.
Murphy.
I was laughing at him earlier because he was like shredded a toy. This
Oh
is
man, Murphy, you're a good-looking guy.
yeah. So,
He
um,
seems well fed.
very well fed.
He's
He's
not cutting weight.
no, he is not. Um,
So I'm gonna assume we're gonna stay with a dog.
yeah, I do like cats, but he is definitely my heart dog. He was he came to college with me last year, and of course came back this year. I got
Nice.
so he's an approved ESA.
Yep.
So he's an emotional support animal, and Simpson has really been really great about that for them. Um, they have like a process, but um, it was a pretty, I mean, nonchalant, easy-ish
Yeah.
process.
One of my dogs that one of the dogs we got. My wife actually lost her leg about 12 years ago in an accident. Not a big deal, but uh,
Perfect.
the dog that we got was a pug, and we did register her as a emotional support dog
Support
too,
animal.
because she really. I mean, it's
Yeah.
true. It's so important to have. Sometimes you need that. So that
Well, and
yeah no
I got Murphy during COVID. So
oh
he's
what a
been with
crazy
me through basically all 4 years of college or high school, and will be all 4 years of college. And yeah,
nice. So are you do you watch movies? Are you a movie
I
person at
do.
all? Okay. What's your favorite movie?
Yeah. Okay, I can't really say movie, but I love the Harry Potter series. I
Okay.
during Christmas,
So you are
like
a
so,
nerd.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Hey, so my third roommate, no, she's back actually right now, and she said, yes, I am a nerd.
Okay.
So,
That's okay. I like the Potter series too. I'm not like fanatical about it, but they're good movies. I've been to Universal. I've
oh yeah,
been through the whole thing. Had my
um, I
butterbeer.
I made my roommates. I was gonna mention that. I made so when came back about 2 weeks before classes, 2 or 3 weeks before classes started during Christmas break, and I may or may not have made them watch it 3 times through. We
They are well versed in the Harry Potter series.
indeed,
They're ready to go get their own wand.
yes, yes.
Very
Keely
much.
knows the spells. I mean, Adele's watched Harry Potter before, but yeah, she's read the whole series, but she definitely got.
So, which house would you be part of then? Are you a Slytherin? I can see a little Slytherin in you, I think.
I I prefer Gryffindor,
Or-
but I also used to get Hufflepuff
Okay.
sometimes,
All
like when
right.
I was
All right.
younger. And then there's been a few times where I've gotten Ravenclaw, but I think I hope I would fit into Gryffindor because
All right.
I mean,
Do
what's
you
not to
watch
love?
any exactly. Do you guys sit around and watch any TV shows, any series that you're really up on or not?
Right now we're watching. Well, right now I'm watching, so my roommates are forced to watch Heart of
Uh-huh.
Dixie. I just started watching it. Um, what else?
We watch at my house every murder show ever. I think my wife is plotting something. So if I ever end up dead, I'm telling everybody this that make sure you check on her first because she knows everything about murder and how to get away with it and how to do all this stuff. So
Well, noted. She might. I've been watching High Potential too. It's about this like really smart lady who inadvertently helped solve a crime, and then they were like, "Hey, come be a
I
consultant."
I've
And
seen
so,
the previews. I haven't watched it yet. I
yeah,
might have to.
it's pretty good. I really
I
like
will
it. So,
good. I'm a child and cartoons are my thing. Do you watch any cartoons?
occasionally in the mornings we'll watch some Scooby Doo because what's not to love about Scooby Doo?
Scooby Doo's pretty awesome. I'm gonna tell you
Murphy.
now. Murphy's gonna like this if you haven't, and I have grandkids, so I watch a lot of this. But Bluey,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
telling you, Bluey is the way to go. Short
Yeah.
episodes. The dad is just cracks me up.
Oh, my little
It's
sisters really
it's
like. blue too.
And I know they
So
actually the colors of the dogs that's dog friendly for
yeah,
them to watch. So I'm thinking Murphy's
yeah,
gonna
that's what
like.
I. Oddly
I
enough, he also really likes SpongeBob.
really
I
SpongeBob
yeah,
is
I
like
don't know
crack
why.
for kids, man. I don't know. SpongeBob's I don't know. I've watched every
It's kind.
SpongeBob episode ever. It's crazy.
I
I
like
watch a lot
it
of Family Guy, South Park.
on a good day. Oh yeah, yep. Those are.
I'm
If I'm gonna like, I like South Park. I think that one's funny. Family Guy's funny too.
yeah.
So
Netflix
I
has a
don't
lot of
watch
good
them a lot,
adult
but
cartoons.
I definitely yes,
Yes.
like the Adult Swim and
Yes, yeah.
those.
I watch a lot of that stuff. So yes, I am a child. So if you're gonna go on
Hey, there's
vacation,
nothing
spring
wrong with
break,
that. Too
I
young.
know it. So spring break's coming around. You and your three
Okay.
roommates are gonna find the best place to go. Where are we going? I'm not going with, but you three, where are you guys headed to?
Great. Where are we going? Oh no.
Are you hitting the beach? Are you going to the beach? Are you going like mountains? What's the deal?
Yeah, we're definitely going to a beach, but it's more of like what beach? Florida's got way too many spring breakers.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Honestly, honestly, and I can go anywhere. I
Anywhere.
think
I don't care.
I'm gonna go to Punta Cana, a resort on Punta Cana.
All right. But we're hitting the beach. Okay. That's the important part. We
Yep.
know that it's definitely beach, not mountains, not Las Vegas or something crazy like that.
Food. No, not Las Vegas. Not food. I mean, Las Vegas is all right, but I've been there. I don't need to go again.
Gotcha. My brother taught school in Las Vegas the entire time I was in college, so I lived in
Oh,
Vegas a lot. It was fun. They weren't as strict with IDs back then either. So, what's your favorite genre of music?
um, I listen to a lot of like alternative music. So like Noah Khan.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I like Noah. There's a lot of really good singer-songwriters right now. I don't
yeah,
care what anybody says. The music right now is really, really
really
good.
good. I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
It's not so like we're out of that techno pop crap. It's actually people are really good singers right now. It's
People
very good.
actually know how to like write decent lyrics.
Yes. Yes. I grew up in the hair band era, so I enjoy the old hair band music a lot. The
There's
girls
nothing
hate
wrong with
that.
that.
Oh, that's right. That's good. That's good music for having fun.
hmm
But before a match, do you listen to music before matches?
Oh, sometimes, but not all the
It's
time.
not all the time. All right.
Yeah.
So that's not part of your pre-match.
No, I my pre-match never looks the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. That's
Um,
one of my questions. I always ask people about pre-match ritual because some people are really specific about it, you know?
yeah, my friend Keely, she's very, very specific.
She has to
I
same
think
socks, same underwear, the whole works.
maybe not quite that,
Not
but
that crazy.
she before her match, she's up moving, has her headphones on. I try to make sure I don't interrupt it because I know for her that it's like that's what she needs.
Hmm.
She finds her place in her head and she zones in and gets ready to go to work. She's a hammer. So
Yeah. How do
for
you
me
find your
though,
place?
um I find it best if I go in without a thought behind my eyes. That's the best way
Gotcha.
I can put it. Um I'm a notorious overthinker.
Uh-huh.
Um and most of the time you want people to think when they wrestle because most people do their best wrestling when they're thinking. I do my best wrestling when I'm not thinking. If I can shut my brain off and just
Just
let my body go to work,
yep.
I do really, really well. Um, but if my brain switches back on, I do really, really bad.
You
Well, not
you
really, really,
overthink everything.
but yeah, I things start to be a little bit more choppy.
Gotcha. I started trying to get more. So I always listen to hard rock, heavy metal. Most of the coaches I've talked to, do you know who Emma Randall is? She is the coach at Columbia University. She was the developmental coach for USA Wrestling for a lot of years. She did Beat the Streets New York. She's been at every Olympics since 2016. You see a really tall black hair, real short black haired coach. That's probably Emma.
Okay.
Fantastic coach. Anyway, we talked about she will listen to stuff that resets her vagus nerve because that takes all the anxiety out. You should maybe look kind of some of that stuff up. It's more
She would
zen.
listen
It
to.
re, like it's resets your vagus nerve. I don't know
Okay.
crap about this, but like it's kind of like more zen type stuff,
All right.
assassin like stuff. Maybe look that up.
Because that's
She's coached Amit, so
okay.
she's been around. She's
Yeah.
done all
I
right.
I definitely like. I guess when to kind of answer another question, or I think it was, but like when I do listen to music before I warm up, it's definitely like Noah Khan kind of like vibes. It's a lot slower, a lot more like soul, I guess.
Yep,
You kind of just it helps me zen out,
yep.
and just kind of like find my
I,
happy
I
place.
yeah, I know what you're
Sorry,
saying. I know
my
what you're saying.
roommate like whispered and I wasn't sure what she
You
said.
were trying to find the right word. I understand. So I know you guys, you've all switched over. You're freestyle experts now. Um, but let's go back because a lot of high school girls still listen to this. It's second period. The coin is flipped. It was green, and you're wearing your green singlet. So, what's your choice going to be?
Neutral.
You're neutral. Okay.
Yeah. I would
You're not.
actually there's my senior year there was only one time that I chose bottom, and that was when Bank was in my corner, and I wanted to go neutral, but he told me no, and he
Mhm.
told me to pick bottom, and I did not get out because that's not where I wanted to be. No, I didn't get.
I
I think I might have gotten out. That might, but I definitely. I just remember I was like, I was, I was pissed. I did
yeah.
not want them, but I also wasn't gonna directly defy my coach
Nope.
because
So I'm a different coach because I actually want my athlete to pick what they want. I'll give you a suggestion. And I'm not, so, because I want you to own it. Because if I tell you to take down, you can remember this, how many years, that's like 2, 3 years ago, right? And
yeah,
you still remember that match, that specific thing. If I let you pick and you mess it up, it ain't my problem. It's
no,
not on
that's
me.
on
It's
me.
on you. That's on you. So
Yeah.
I don't care. And most of my girls do. Bottom's bad position for girls. I've had girls winning matches a ton of times, and somebody picks down or the other person takes up, and wow, there's the ends of the match, right? Happens all the time. So
And it's
I'm
not,
fine with taking top. But if
and
you take it, you better stop the first move.
exactly. And I don't, and I wasn't the kind of girl that I'd never picked top. I wasn't, you know, it's not because I thought I was super bad on bottom or because I thought I was super great on top. It was just because I knew that I felt most at peace and I knew that I have the best chance at recollecting myself and my thoughts and just my composure if I can go back to neutral.
Yep.
Because when I'm at when you start a match, you start neutral.
Yep.
So if I can start the second period neutral, I can try and forget the first period happened and I can just wrestle my way. I can wrestle how I want and, try and get back into where I was. Um, Honestly, my majority of my matches where I can remember them, those are my worst matches.
That's because
Um,
we only remember the ones that sucked.
well,
Quite honestly,
exactly.
I
Well,
can tell
and
you matches I lost. years and years and years ago, and I can hardly tell you anything I ever won.
Honestly, for me, it's there. My worst matches are the ones I remember, and they're not always the ones I lost either. It's a mixture of both. I, for instance, like Addie and I's match our senior year, I don't remember it. I lost that one, but I do know that I mean obviously I probably made a few mistakes, but I wrestled really well. We wrestled
Uh-huh.
really
Yeah.
well. But my semis match, I I remember I was having a panic attack on the mat. I remember my coach yelling at me. I remember him telling me to pick that bottom and I didn't want to. So it's just kind of like, it's those little things.
Yep.
It's like you said, of course we're always gonna remember our worst ones, especially the losses because they do suck. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I miss you and Addie's match. I would have really liked to have seen that one, but him and Izzy did not handle the semifinal loss well. Stuff, which I don't blame them. That is
no.
what it is, you know.
And
But we
those
we had we had to work through that, and it takes a lot to work through those losses sometimes. And but
the semi matches they are the hardest. They are
that's a
the harder
hard match
losses
because
because you do
yeah.
have to come back.
Yeah, that's a tough loss. It really
Yeah.
is because
It,
you're looking forward to the finals, and the next thing you're like,
yeah.
crap, I got to wrestle back. I got to wrestle two more matches or three more matches. That sucks.
Especially when you come in like, number one or number two, and then you lose and have to come back, or even number three because,
Yep,
or I don't know. It's like it's just hard because you put so much pressure on yourself to like for me, it's kind of funny. I've never done as well as I've been seated. So the higher I've been seated, the worse I've done, or I've
I-
only been able to match my seating. I've never quite been able to kind of one up it, and
yep,
that's something where I'm like, I'm at the point in my career in my brain, I guess, where I'm seating. I mean, yeah, I can say seating doesn't matter as much as I want to, but I'm at a point where I'm really trying to embody that. I'm really trying to tell myself and believe that it doesn't really matter because anybody can win or lose on any given day.
yep,
And I can be caught off guard or I can catch someone off guard. Like it's down to me and my opponent at the end of the day. And
yep. I really think freestyle, there's more opportunity maybe to catch that upset,
oh,
because
one
man,
hundred
scoring's
percent.
so wide open. I'm gonna guess now that you've switched over, freestyle is by far your favorite.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me to go back to folk style.
Well, you
Um,
probably could get paid.
I
So if I ever convince Jason to do a adult division at AAU State, you wouldn't come back and compete.
how much am I getting paid?
Well, I don't know. Is there
How
NIL money
much?
maybe? I mean, is it more NIL money than you're getting at Simpson, or which probably isn't a
I
whole heck of
just
a lot?
I just for me, folk style, um, it's a lot more restrictive.
It is.
And it's not at the end of the day, like I've gotten really like ew, I hate saying this. I've gotten good at freestyle.
Yeah,
And
it's all right.
I
Freestyle's a fun
I
sport, man.
enjoyed it. And I've kind of honed in on my skills and you know, I know that if I lock up my lace, odds are I'm gonna end a match. And I've I've got a really good lace and that's something I'm really proud of. I worked really hard to get there.
Yeah,
So, if I can end the match that way, like I've put in the time to do that. Whereas like with folk style, it's just you get a lot more time to work, but it's in my opinion, freestyle, you have a lot more opportunities to score.
yeah,
You have a
for
lot more
sure.
opportunity to win. Whereas
Yeah,
like folk style, you know, it is it's more of like a
It's more, it's
Um,
not control, it's not exposure, it's control. And
yeah.
we reward control, you know. And in freestyle, you're rewarding people taking chances,
Yeah.
quite honestly. You know,
And
that's
you're
and
also
it's
the thing about like freestyle is it's you're no longer looking for control of your opponent. You have to control yourself because
yeah.
I love scrambles and
And
I was pro I'm folk style. I exposed myself all the time
hmm
and that's something I've had to work on in freestyle is I expose myself too much sometimes. And I mean, I've gotten a lot better, but that's something that I've had to work on quite a bit
gotcha.
was controlling myself
So you're gonna like
just
this
to
next
kind of like,
question. You're really gonna like this next question because being a Harry Potter person, I'm gonna give you a magic wand. Okay.
ooh,
So you get the magic wand, but the only thing you can use it on is to change something about wrestling. What would you use your wand to change about wrestling?
I'd go back and undo the 3 point takedown. I hate it.
Do you?
Yeah,
It's
I
there's
oh because I mean selfishly, it it's starting to feel like freestyle in a way. Like,
well, that's I think that's the idea.
oh, I just
So what I see as a coach on my side, the tech falls are ridiculously easy and quick now because now
yes,
you can go 7-0 on one exchange and you let somebody up another 7-0 and it's like, wow, this match is over, you know. I mean, it's quick. But you lay somebody up in freestyle and what that's the 30-second, you know, how many times you
yeah.
took them down, laced it up and four roll throughs, we're off the mat, which is not a bad thing. But, you know, I mean, I think that's the idea. We want more scoring, but is that the way to get more scoring? Or is it
Well,
just enforcing those stalling rules?
and I think that's what I like. I think that's my biggest thing is like I mean watching the Penn State and Iowa duel. Like I mean, okay, obviously it wasn't necessarily the best lineup for Iowa, whatever, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like I I don't necessarily feel that it should be that easy to tech another and maybe I just sound like an air like ignorant
No, you don't.
college girl,
It's
but like I just think that it was ridiculous to see some of these D1 athletes get teched like that by and don't get me wrong, like sometimes an athlete, a wrestler is just more dominant than the other
yeah.
one. But it was just kind of like I was so excited to watch like these like dog fights
Yeah.
and they just weren't it.
Uh,
And who knows, like maybe maybe Penn State's just super dominant this year and because
they
like
are.
yeah, exactly. Like
They are.
they do have some really, really great wrestlers, but and I know uh, this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but Iowa is kind of starting to fall off of. They're not necessarily holding as much of a light or like
Yeah. Well,
comparison to Penn State. They're starting to kind of take a back seat, which isn't something.
I've said this for a long time, and maybe you'll there might be something you agree with. I've watched Iowa wrestling. I watched on Iowa public television when I mean, we would record them on a VHS to watch, rewatch, and watch. Okay, so I'm dating myself, of course, but from forever, Iowa wrestlers come off the mat and they're going to tell you what they did wrong and how they need to improve this and how they need to, you know, work harder. And you watch a Penn State wrestler come off the mat and they will tell you how much fun they're having in their room, how they enjoy the process and just a different attitude towards the sport. I think as a younger athlete yourself, I think we need to, I think that's the route we need to take as a coach. I mean, I try to have fun in our practices because I want us to embrace the process, not the grind. You know, I
Well,
understand you got it's part of the grind. The grind is part of the sport. I get it. But when it's all you're doing is embracing the grind and we don't really care about having fun, it's not worth doing.
and I mean, I when I say this, like I really feel that Coach McGinnis has done a great job on making sure we're still having fun. But even like there's occasionally like when we're having conversations and stuff, I'm like, ooh, he did wrestle at Iowa. Like,
Yep.
and you know, do do with that sentence as you will, that statement. But there you can tell there's just a difference. There's in it makes or breaks wrestlers,
Yeah.
that
No,
difference.
you're right.
And
And yeah, no, I watched Coach McGinnis. I was actually in the stands when he won his fourth title. So, I've been around a while
yeah,
and stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's something. And I guess that's something when you were talking before about your experience as an athlete in the room. When you come back and coach, wherever you come back and coach, in Northwest Iowa is a great place if you ever want to come up here, and you'd look really good in orange and black. I swear to God.
thank you.
Um, but be the coach that you needed. Is that's
Yeah,
something I tell people a lot. Just be the coach that you needed and stuff. So I have nothing more to add to this, but I'm going to give you a little opportunity to have some final thoughts to all any maybe younger girls watching, some parents that maybe are like, oh, what's this girls wrestling stuff? I know that my audience isn't huge yet, but it is growing and
hey,
stuff. So
you're doing the thing, you're getting it out there, and
yeah,
I
so
mean, I love to see it. I mean, I personally feel that there needs to be more, or like not more, but just even a podcast for women's wrestling. And you're doing the thing, and I honestly don't know that there's anybody else I'd rather do it. So I was really happy when you reached out, and I guess my advice to any parent, young girl or girl my age, wherever, whatever is holding you back, and don't let it. Try figure out what you need to be successful. Find your win conditions. Find out, you know, what what that next step looks like for you and take it. It's it's tough, but you're never alone. You always there's support somewhere in someone, and sometimes it's going to be the people you least expect, but at the end of the day, like you can find it, and there's there's always going to be a place for you in women's wrestling, and just in wrestling in general. The community is very large, and majority of the community is very passionate. So
yep.
just put yourself out there, and you don't have to be the best, but just try your best.
I
So
like it. I like it. Maybe sometime. So again, thank you for the nice things you said about the podcast. But one of the things I set out to do is not to find all of the girls that everybody wants. I don't care if I ever interview a four-time state champion. I don't care if I ever interview a national champion
yeah,
because I'm trying to find the real stories of who's actually grinding it out and doing this sport and stuff. So
yeah,
no, I appreciate that. Maybe sometime we'll have to have all three of you on the roommates at the same time. Maybe after
yeah,
your
that would be
season. Are you
great.
are you all are you all three preparing for is it the D3 national
Invite
invite?
national. Um,
Are you,
Keely and I are. Adele actually just wrestled this weekend at the Grandview Open. Um, she'd probably disagree, but she did pretty well in my opinion. She's been working on some things this season, trying to finish or not finish, clean up her shot,
Mhm.
and just kind of she grinds like no other. She's a hard worker. She shows up every day and gives it her all. Same with Keely. Don't be fooled. Keely does too.
All right. How
But
about how about this? After season's over and you guys
mhm,
are sitting around and you want to talk about wrestling, why don't have we have all three of you come and we'll talk about wrestling for about an hour.
deal,
All
deal.
right.
We'd
I'm
love
gonna I'm
that.
gonna hit I'm gonna hit the stop button. Thank you very
Okay.
much. But stick around for just a couple minutes and I'll talk to you for a second.
All right.